and welcome to this week's ATL Home Market. I'm Ira Miskin. I'm broker and team leader with your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the Miskin team, along with Stephanie Miskin, co-team leader with your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the Miskin team. Hi, Steph. How are you this week?
I'm great. It's hot, but I'm good. How about you?
Good. Very good. It's middle of the summer. It's nice and hot. My favorite time of the year. Um, This week, we're going to spend some time actually not talking about today, but looking in the future, looking at maybe 20 years in the future, and how, if you think about using real estate and using real estate over time, you can use it to invest in to be able to build income and long term wealth. And to do it and not have to, really jump through hoops in order to get it done. It's relatively simple, even though it's not always easy, but it is simple. And it is a wonderful way to be able to use real estate to be able to build wealth. So we're going to spend some time talking about that and some of the things that you'd want to know. But before we do that, Steph has found some more wonderful things all around the metro Atlanta area that she'd like to tell you about. And so as you're thinking about buying real estate, you can have a good time looking at things all over the place. What's going on, Steph?
Okay, yeah. Well, it is for a whole bunch of people with children the end of the summer, which seems very strange to me, but most of the schools are going back on August the 1st, which it's still summer to me in August, but these kids are back in school. So I was trying to plan ahead and look and see some things in areas that you guys can not just look at this weekend, but look into the fall, because before you know it, hopefully the cool weather will be upon us. The first thing I want to tell you about is a very cool consignment sale for children's clothing. This is called All For the Number 4 Kids. And it's been going on for over 30 years. I go to it every year with my daughter and her 2 children. It is fabulous. You're going to get high quality because they only take high quality. I mean, you bring in your stuff if you're going to sell it, and if there's any kind of imperfection, they won't even take it. So this is really good, high quality clothing that, you can buy at a fraction of the cost. It is not only clothing, it is furniture. I bought a changing table there when my granddaughter was born. There's toys, there's books, there's shoes, there's clothing, there's stuff for moms, maternity clothing. All kinds of stuff. And it's going to be in 2 locations. So the first location is going to be in the Marietta area, and that's going to be at the Jim Miller Park the fairgrounds on Callaway Road. That will start on August the 12th, and it will run through Saturday, August the 16th. Now, the cool thing about it is on Saturday, many of the items are marked half price. So if something is selling for, $5, you might get it for $2.50. So that's the first location and the first dates of it. The second location is going to be in Woodstock it's called His Hands Church on 92 in Woodstock on Molly Lane, 550 Molly Lane. And those dates are going to be Tuesday, August the 19th through Saturday, August the 23rd. So if you forget, just look up all the number 4 kids on the internet and you'll find it and check it out. I mean, be prepared to stay there a long time and look through a bunch of stuff, but you can get some great, great, great things there. We love going to that every year. So since this was in Marietta, I wanted to talk a little bit about Marietta, the city of Marietta. There's so much stuff going on in the city of Marietta. We happen to live in Marietta and have lived here for a long, long time. And I just wanted to kind of bring you up to speed of what's going on in Marietta in case you end up going to the one in the fairgrounds in Marietta. There's the Marietta Square Market. That is a great food market, a food hall, which is open all the time, and it's fabulous. So if you're there and you want to go have some lunch, go down to the square and check out the Marietta Square Market. There's other great things around there. There's the Marietta Diner, which has been around forever and ever and ever, and that is a great restaurant to go to. Other fun things to do in Marietta are, Six Flags Whitewater, which I think I talked about last week. There's the Andretti Indoor Karting, which is, high speed fun on an indoor track. There's the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield with great hiking trails throughout that. And then coming up on Labor Day, this has been around for a long, long time, and you should check it out, is the Marietta Art in the Park. It's a great art show. It is juried. It's lots of fun. Marietta is a great place to live. The schools are fabulous. Lots of stuff to do for kids. Lots of stuff, there's theater, there's art. There's just a lot of stuff that's really good for families, and it's close enough to the city. The Battery is there, so if you're into baseball, you can go to the Battery, which is a little bit south of Marietta, but it's in Smyrna, but it's still in Cobb County. And of course, all our baseball fans, love the Braves, so you can check that out. So while you're going, if you go to the All for Kids in Marietta, check out some of the things I just told you about. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is if you go a little bit north, up 575, you're going to end up in a town called Ellijay, which is really in the foothills of the mountains. It's a great little town. It's a great town to go to now and also in the fall because of the season changing with the leaves and apple picking and all of that stuff. But right now there's all the whitewater rafting and tubing. And one of the places up there that I wanted to tell you about, which you can go to year round, is called the Panorama Orchards. And this is a family-owned orchard with a fabulous, it looks like a country store where they're going to sell all the products that are grown on their orchard, which is, they have a lot of apples. I mean, in the apple season, the place is crammed because it's got a ton of apples. But, they also are selling fresh squeezed cider, fabulous homemade breads, all different kinds of breads and pies. Everything is very, very inexpensive. So you can go up there and have a great time and gorge yourself on some homemade food. The Georgia Apple Festival will be going on that. Now that happens in mid-October, but just be aware right now, if you went up there, you'd probably see a lot of stuff made with strawberries and things like that. You are really close when you go up there to Amacola Falls State Park, which is got one of the highest waterfalls with hiking trails. It's a beautiful place. It's not far at all from Ellijay, and you should check it out. Another thing up there is wineries. There are tons and tons of wineries up there. So they do winery tours, or you just want to look online and see wineries in Ellijay. Tons of them that you can go up there and get yourself some great wine. And then, of course, there's kayaking and there's tubing. And there's also a farmer's market every Saturday. So I think it is definitely worth the drive. It's not very far at all. It's just straight up 575 from Marietta. Takes about 45 minutes to get there. And check out that city. It's called Ellijay, and some of these great things to do. Also, another state park up there besides the Amacola is also Fort Mountain State Park. And that one is about let me look here, about 14 miles from downtown LJ. And it's also a beautiful state park to check out. So those are some of the things that I wanted to tell you. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. If you want to stay in the city and you don't want to be adventurous and you don't want to go up to Ellijay in August, fabulous, been around forever and ever, Piedmont Park Art Festival. That's going to happen on August the 17th. And that is downtown in Piedmont Park. Artists from all over the country come. It's a fabulous art festival. It's free to the public. Great, food, jewelry, art. I mean, just over 200 artists. So it's a big fair, and you should check that out if you have no desire to go outside of the city. And that's what I have for you today.
All good stuff. We've for years traveled up to Ellijay and through Ellijay up north over into the Carolina side of the border, and it's so amazing how you can be in one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the country, Atlanta, and really good, sprawling, busy suburbs, and yet you're so close to being out in the mountains, in the foothills, being in the countryside. Everything is just in easy reach, whether you're going north or you're going south or you're heading out east or heading out west from the city of Atlanta. Everything is really easy to get to with so many different choices. It makes, this region just a wonderful place to live. And it also is, because there are so many people who are continuing to relocate into the metropolitan area, a really wonderful place to invest in real estate. And that's what we wanted to spend some time talking about with you today, is just outlining some of the steps and some of the advantages of using the value of real estate in order to build wealth over time for a lot of different reasons. And as I said, it's relatively easy, although it may not look simple. But once you begin to recognize what you need to do and how to do it, you're just simply repeating the process over and again and again. And the big goal and the bottom line, and we'll talk about this from the money side in a little while, is how if you just invested in one home a year, and you did that every year for, say, about 20 years, and the house appreciated in its normal way, meaning it grows in value over time. 20 years from now, when you sell that first house, it's probably going to be worth double what you paid for it. So let's say, for example, you bought a home for $500,000 and you kept it and used it as an investment property for 20 years, and you resold it and you sold it for $1 million. Well, do you think you could sell a house a year and have $1 million in your pocket and live pretty well on $1 million a year? Probably can. And so here's some of the things that you need to think about and some of the steps that you take in order to really start building a steady income. And one of them, and Stephanie knows this because she's both helped buyers buy houses as rental properties and also help sell rental properties, is buying real estate that can be used to rent and all of the advantages of that. Steph, you want to kick in a little bit and tell folks about how that works a bit?
Yeah, I mean, if you're considering buying an investment property and using it as a rental, I mean, there's kind of a couple of ways to think of investment properties. You can think of it as a rental. That's something you're going to hold and it's going to build equity and you're going to collect rent on it. Or it's something that you're going to fix and flip, meaning you're going to buy it, it's going to need work, and you're going to fix it up and you're going to sell it immediately. But right now, we're talking about investments that you're going to hold as a rental. So, there's a couple of ways to think about this. First of all, the location is going to be really important to you. You want to be able to find a location that is friendly, meaning there are a lot of renters in that area. It's more a rental area than it is a residential, I own the house and I'm living there kind of neighborhood. You also want to look at the school districts. So if you've got a little house or a townhouse or something that you want to turn into a rental, you want to try to get it in the best school districts that you can, because many times folks with families will not have the capital to buy and they need to rent. So they're going to look for good school districts. Along with that is going to be, proximity to the city, proximity to hospitals, things that you would look for if you were going to buy, but you can't afford to buy, so you need to rent, but you're still going to consider these things. And then you need to look at, how much am I paying for this on a monthly basis? How much rent can I get for this property so that the rent will cover your mortgage and then some, so that you're not having to pay the mortgage, basically the renter is. So I think those are the things that I try to guide my folks into when they're looking for rental properties.
And the background of that is using a property that appreciates. And there's actually, people do this a variety of ways. Many people buy homes and they turn them into a property that can be rented. And as Stephanie said, if you're guided wisely about both the type of property that you're going to buy and the location of that property, very often renters become long-term renters. They become very stable renters. So you don't have a lot of turnover from lease period to lease period. It gives you several really good in your pocket advantages. Number one, as Stephanie said, when you are renting a property to a renter, and the rental and all of the costs associated with that property are factored in correctly. And of course, those are the things that we help home buyers that are looking for investments know and understand, with a good checklist of what are the things that a property needs to check off in order for it to be a wise investment for you. If you buy a property in which, let's say, the monthly mortgage payment, interest, taxes, insurance, mortgage is, let's say, $1,500 a month, and the rental value of that property is $2,500 a month, that property cash flows at $1,000 a month of income to you. A little bit of that will go towards a rental management company if you're not going to manage them themselves, and typically we recommend that. So that on that $1,500 a month mortgage expense, you're actually making about $750 a month. That's $10,000 a year of just income that you can get from a property, while also knowing that year over year, the value of the property increases. So not only are you building up equity by having that mortgage paid off for you by the renter, but the appreciation of the property, 3, 4, 5% a year on average, means that as you pay down the mortgage and the property appreciates, that's how, when you get to roughly the 20-year mark, that property is worth literally double what it is that you paid for. So that's something that's really important. In addition to building equity, there's also tax advantages. And you can get tax advantages on rental properties that you don't have, even though owning your own property has tax advantages. The rental properties also allow you to depreciate the value of the property, meaning you can write off a percentage of the value of that property every single year to lower your tax impact. Plus, any repairs that you do, insurance that you have on that property, those are all tax deductible items. So when you take the tax deductions and you match them up with the income that you're getting on that property, it makes a smartly acquired rental property that's taken care of and managed a really good long-term investment. And it gives you an asset that really has what we call tangible control, because you always know that you can always sell that property and get your equity out and take your value. But you also know that the longer you hold it, the more it continues to grow in value. So your pocketbook just gets fatter. And there's nothing so much fun as your pocketbook getting fat. Right, Steph?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that I was thinking about, which a lot of folks do, is they want to buy a second home. Maybe they want to buy a second home up in LJ because they love the mountains and they want to get away. So they buy a house that they can use as, like Iris said, a long-term rental, and maybe say that the rental period has to be 4 months to 6 months. And then so they rent it out for that amount of time, and the other amount of time they use it themselves. So a lot of folks do that, and it doesn't necessarily, I mean, it might be a house in Florida or it might be a house in South Carolina, but they buy it and rent it until they are ready to, say, retire completely and move to that home.
And there's a variety of ways that you can look at it. You can have a house that is the traditional kind of rental, but a lot of folks buy properties that they turn into B&Bs. They
Right.
turn them into
VRBOs.
VRBOs and so
Right.
on.
Right.
And those properties, they are turned over usually every, week to 10 days to 2 weeks. Sometimes, as Stephanie said, if you buy a property in, let's say, in a vacation area like in the
Hilton
Carolinas,
Head.
Hilton
Yeah,
Head,
Hilton Head.
or down in Florida,
Right.
where that property as a VRB will rent for several $1,000s a week. So it gives you, even though it has a great deal more activity, and there are companies that help you to actually manage your VRBOs, it gives you a much higher degree of income that you can build. And the property is still gaining equity and it still has increased value. So, any number of ways, depending on where you are, where you live, and how simply or how interested you are in being able to manage properties. But the number one goal is to build income and also build equity so that as a long term play, when you begin to disperse those properties, that's money that actually goes right straight in the bank. And there's a very interesting program that was started by the federal government back in the 1920s. It's called a 1031 tax exchange program. And back in the early days, you could buy all kinds of things in that program, but today it is essentially for real estate. And if you buy a property that's an investment property and you purchase it using the rules of the 1031 tax exchange and keep that property in that exchange, every time you sell the property, and let's say, for example, you buy a property and you keep it for 5 or 6 years and you realize that property has now appreciated enough so you could actually use it and the equity that you've gained to buy a bigger, more valuable property. Every time you move up, you do not have to pay any taxes on the sale of the home. So the tax money along your tax rate could be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40%. That money stays in your pocket. So you could start out buying a 1031 tax exchange property today for two or $300,000 and turn that property over every so many years and move up in value. And 20 years from now, you could have a big commercial complex worth maybe 3 or 4 or 5 million dollars, and you can sell it tax exempt, or, which is also a wonderful element of the 1031 tax exchange program, put that property or properties into your will, and those that inherit from you have no tax liability. It's not like personal property. It's not like they inherit your home and you sell it and they have to pay taxes on it, inheritance taxes. There are no taxes associated with 1031 tax exchange programs. And that means that you have, both from the standpoint of being able to have homes that you can keep in a program, appreciate, earn income from it on a month over month basis, and also have these houses in your 1031 tax exchange so that when you actually decide to sell them or move up in value, you're exempt from paying taxes. It's a really wonderful program. And the basis for it, which has grown into this really solid tax exempt program for people who are investors, means that you don't have to put millions of dollars into investing. You can start small and over time build it as large as you please, still earn income, and still be able to sell those properties, use the value of those properties, and build wealth over time. And that's something that I think is a really important thing. And we're going to talk about that in a couple of weeks in much more detail and have a 1031 tax exchange expert on that can help you to understand how to use that as a wonderful program. But I wanted to jump back into really the step-by-step power of really buying that program and what happens over blocks of time. Steph, you know, that it really goes in, like, multi-year phases. Like in phase 1 through 5, that would be like the um, foundation phase in
Right.
buying properties. Could you kind of explain a little bit what that means?
Yeah, that would mean like you're going to be buying your first property with low down payments. And then you're going to make sure that the rent is going to cover the mortgage and all your operating costs, and hopefully even generate some possible cash flow. And you're building equity each month as the tenant pays down your loan. So that would be the first year to 5 year, 1 to 5 years in your foundation phase, your first property.
And that would go for each property you buy. So if you bought a property this year, and essentially you're using maybe a little bit of equity that you would take out of your current home that you own to use as down payment, but you're getting a loan and somebody else is paying that loan, you're really essentially using other people's money to go ahead and buy that property. And you just repeat that process every single year, taking a little bit of equity, using other people's money to buy that property and other people's money to pay for that property. And so each property falls into kind of that 5 year span. So now, 5 years from now, you may have 5 properties and they're all in that first phase, but your first properties are beginning to fall into that second phase, that really, that, let's say, 6 to 15 year phase. Steph, get us some details on that 6 to 15 year phase.
Well, if you have a property that you've owned for 6 to 15 years, that's the compounding phase. And by that, I mean the rent's going to rise your loan is going to stay the same. Your monthly payment on your loan is going to stay the same. So now your cash flow is increasing. Also, the property is going to appreciate in value. Every year you own a property, it goes up in value. Another thing to think about is that loan balance is shrinking. So you're building equity at a very quick rate. All right. The longer you own it, the more the renter's paying your mortgage, that balance on your loan is shrinking. And now, if you want to, you can refinance if you wanted to, if you needed to. You might not need to, but if you wanted to, or you can use that 1031 exchange to upgrade or buy more profitable properties. Okay. Your maintenance costs may rise, but so does the income. So, you own a house 6 to 15 years, you might be putting on a new roof, you might be putting in a new water heater, but your rents are going to rise. So that's going to help cover all that. And that is what we call the compounding phase.
Then you get into that next block of time, that year, let's say 16 to 20. And that's when you start looking at what the value is of those very first properties that you bought. Steph, can you just give us a couple of points on that?
Yeah, that's kind of like the lock-in phase, 16 to 20 years. Yeah, your first properties could be fully paid off by now. If you're doubling up on your monthly note, you could have those properties completely paid off. So your portfolio now, if you have a couple of properties, is producing a significant passive income. You're not really doing anything. You're renting these properties out. If you get long-term rentals renters in there, you're not doing too much. So it's passive income. Your net worth is growing because of equity and appreciation. The house is always getting, as long as you maintain the house is appreciating. So you're in a position right now at that point in time, 16 to 20 years, to sell it, to refinance it, or if you wanted to, downsize assets for retirement flexibility. Maybe you say, okay, I want to move to LJ full time, or I want to move to Hilton Head full time. So now you have these assets that will help you do that.
All of that to be able to know that one of the few things that exist in our world, land, there's not going to be any more land. And usually with housing, there's not going to be that much more in the way of housing. So using residential real estate as a way of being able to create stability for yourself by building income and gaining equity and having long-term wealth to be used for all manner of things. Maybe you have young children right now, and in about 10 or 15 years, several of those children want to go to college, and you want them to go, and you want them to be able to go to college without having to have huge loans. Well, selling one or two of those homes pays for your children's college education, and you're still in the buying phase. So you start to think about all of the values. I'm going to give you just a quick little checklist, and this would be in today's marketplace, dollars on the relatively low side. But let's say, for example, you are buying houses in the $250,000 range. And let's say you put somewhere between 5 and 20% down on that first home. And the annual rent on that home was roughly about $1,750 a month, about $21,000 a year. And the house appreciated by just 3% a year. And in Metro Atlanta, the typical annual appreciation, depending on the location, is between 3 and 5% a year, compounded each year. But your mortgage rate stays exactly the same, whatever that rate is. And even if mortgage rates go down and you refinance it to a lower rate, that brings your monthly expense down, but your rent is going to appreciate about 2 to 3% a year. So here's how it works. If in the first 5 years you bought 500 homes and you had a total value of about $1.3 million worth of real estate, over those first 5 years, your equity in those homes would be about $250,000. And your annual cash flow from rent would be between $20,000 and $30,000 on top of that equity. Now think about what $20,000 to $30,000 of just income can do. Well, frankly, that income, if you used it, could buy another whole property. If at year 10 you had 10 properties, you'd be having about $2.8 million worth of real estate. Your equity would have grown to about 700,000, and your annual income from those properties would be between $50,000 and $70,000 a year. By year 15, you got 15 properties, $4.5 million worth of properties, about $1.5 million in equity, upwards of $120,000 a year of income after expenses. It's getting pretty good now, right? And after 20 years, if you bought that one house a year, just at $250,000 a year, your property values would be worth somewhere between $6.5 and $7 million. You would have a minimum of $3 million of equity, and your annual income would be between $150,000 and $200,000. And think about it. If you had that $250,000 house 20 years later worth $500,000 and you sold it, that's $500,000 right in your pocket, because that's 100% your property. And that's pretty enticing math. And it's not very complicated. Just looking at managing your finances so that you can purchase one home a year for around 20 years. You could buy 2 homes a year, 3 homes a year. You could move up and buy a variety of homes using the 1031 tax exchange. All of these are all elements that enable you to be able to use the equity in your home, other people's money, and the continual rising value of real estates and rents to be able to build stability for yourself and to build real, tangible wealth. Now, that's a pretty good message, I think, for understanding how to both invest in real estate for yourself, to have that property that you own and that is yours, your place to come home, and then using it and other properties as leverage to do exactly the same thing, to build wealth. Pretty good stuff, right, Steph?
Absolutely. And, if you've never done it before, it might seem a little bit complicated and daunting, but it isn't. But if you work with a team like us that has done it many, 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 many times and helped many people become very wealthy investors, we're here to help you with that. So don't let it intimidate you. Just give us a call and say, hey, I'm interested in learning more about becoming an investor, and we'll certainly spend some time explaining it to you and seeing if we can come up with a plan that will help you get wealthy.
And, you don't have to wait a decade to own your house to do it. Literally, if you've bought a property, and even if it's your first property, you're a first time buyer, in 6 months to a year, between your down payment and equity that's grown, and your ability to use that property as leverage to be able to get a really good loan on an investment property, working with a really good loan group that can help you do that. And that's something that, of course, is part of the team that we have to help folks to be able to use properties as leverage and get the kind of loans they need to grow their portfolio. you can literally, within a year of buying your first home, be seriously exploring buying your first investment property. Now, that's a pretty good opportunity and a wonderful reason why, if you're not owning a home right now, for you to be seriously thinking about using your ability to create financial leverage, buy your own first home, and then you become the landlord. Instead of you paying your landlord's rent, other people will do that for you because they need to or because they have to. And
Right.
it's a great situation for everybody. So we want to wrap up today. I know this is a little technical and a little complicated, but it's something that we're going to explore a bit at a time. And a number of folks on our team, including Stephanie and me, because we have done this ourselves for years and have done this for many, many, many of those folks that we have worked with over the years. We have a very good business format for helping you do that. And we have a pro forma that helps you really look at exactly how the money needs to flow so that you always know 100% what's a good property for you to buy and what looks like a really wonderful property, but from a financial and investment point of view, not the property for you. Those are all things that working with a team like ours can help you do to be able to both have the stability of owning your own home and using real estate to build wealth. So I wanted to close this up today just by saying, Steph, you gave us a boatload of amazing things that people can go and do and spend money and eat and have fun doing. Just give us a short summary of the things that you talked about just to wrap us up today.
All right. So basically in Marietta, there's going to be the All for Kids consignment sale that I told you about. Check it out. Go online. Make sure you have the right dates and the right locations. One is in Marietta. One is in Woodstock. Definitely go. I mean, Christmas is around the corner. You know, kids are starting school. You just can save tons of money. And while you're there, go have lunch at either the Marietta Diner or the food market and check out Marietta and the square and all the fun things there are to do there. So that was one thing I talked to you about. The other town that I talked to you about was Ellijay. Like, okay, I want to get away to the mountains for a weekend or even, you know, for a night. Check out Ellijay. It is not far. You can get up there in an hour easily. Go to the Panorama food market up there and have some of their wonderful food. Go kayaking in the summertime. Go, you know, hiking in the wintertime. Check out some of the state parks that are very close. Amicalola Falls State Park is a beautiful state park with a gorgeous waterfall. Go there. And then the last thing was all you people that don't want to leave the city, check out the Piedmont Park Arts Festival if you've never been. Fabulous Art Festival, been around forever. That is August the 17th, August the 16th, and August the 17th. It's juried. It's got fabulous art, food, music, you name it. And it's right in Piedmont Park in Atlanta. That's what I had this week.
Well, and they're all pretty cool things, and we've actually participated in all of them.
Yeah, we
I
have.
can't tell you how many kids' clothes have come from those sales. And then over time, as the 6-year-old uses the 10-year-olds, and the 10-year-olds have outgrown what she's got, as long as they are in really good condition, and most folks do keep their possessions in good condition, give them a bath, bring them back,
Yep.
sell them to someone else, and go and buy your next year's clothes. It's an interesting and fun adventure. I always like seeing Stephanie and my daughter putting together the bags of clothes. They'll bring 3 bags of clothes to sell and come home with 5 bags of clothes to use.
I mean, you can't beat the prices, and the kids have a ball, and of course, then they have to have a fashion show for grandpa. You know, you
Absolutely.
have 2 granddaughters; they have to have a fashion show.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's lots of fun. Check it out.
Yep. Really. Absolutely. And then, frankly, LJ is one of the nicest towns in the North Georgia mountains. Um, Quaint, beautiful, friendly, um, you know, good places to eat. You can just sit out and enjoy being in the mountains, and wonderful places to go to just have fun for the day.
Right.
We,
Not travel far.
yeah, and not travel far. We did that for years and years and years. And every once in a blue moon, even though the kids are grown, we'll still pop in the car and head north because North Georgia, like the city of Atlanta, um, is just a wonderful jewel in the Southeast. And I'm prejudiced because I think Georgia is probably the best state to live in. So there you go. So I want to thank everybody for joining us this week on our ATL Home and Market podcast. If you liked what you've heard, please on YouTube, like us. And if it's the first time you've joined us, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and also to this podcast. There are many, many wonderful videos on the YouTube channel right as we speak that will give you lots of cool things to do and lots of great information if you're in the universe right now of thinking about buying or selling a home or investing in property. And if you'd like any more information about some of the things we've talked about today, some of that will be posted on YouTube, but also you can call us or text us, and we would be more than happy to give you all of the information and all of the incentives that would be valuable to you to go ahead and think about how you could use real estate as a way of building wealth. So for me, I want to thank you. And for Stephanie, thank you as well. We look forward to you joining us again next week on ATL Home and Market.
Have a great week. Take care.